It doesn't matter if you're scared. Like, do the things you're scared of. Do the things you're unqualified for. Like, don't wait until that you'll figure, fit for it, figure it the F out, while you're trying to go for it. There's not a lot of time to waste. You're going to regret every chance you didn't take. Everything that I didn't do is because I was scared. I'm just so pissed off at myself. Everything that I did that I was scared of paid off. Like, it was just so cool that I did it.
Welcome back to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DiCioccio, and our guest today has an incredible story. At 27, he was living out of his truck. Fast forward a few years, and he's generated more than $90 million in revenue for some of the fastest growing startups in the world. He's turned adversity into fuel for extraordinary success, and he's becoming a sought-after coach, thought leader, and an author. With his best-selling book, Only Tens, and the Rising Leader Handbook, he's redefining productivity, leadership, and the art of making intentional choices. He's also the voice behind the podcast, The Rising Leader. And let's bring him onto the show. Welcome to the show, Mark Silverman.
I'm so happy to be here. I love talking to you. I love your show.
Appreciate you being here. We talked a little bit offline that what's exciting about today's conversation is this is fresh. We've never officially met. We've emailed a little bit here and there. I got some of your backstory, so we're prepared to go deep, take a deep dive today. But I truly don't know, like, your business success. I haven't heard it before. So I'm your first audience member today, and everybody that's tuning in right now, we're looking to level up. We're looking to learn from you, Mark. Take those little things, actionable steps that we can apply to ourselves and take action. It's great to learn. It's great to be in the classroom. If you do nothing with that information, it's really a sin. So welcome to the show, Mark Silverman.
I appreciate the opportunity to share.
Yes, sir. And we got your website, your books, your social media, and also your podcast linked in the show notes. Everybody that wants to dive into who you are, it's right there. It's easy for them to find. So let's go back and talk about the significant low point. I mentioned it in the intro, right? 27 years old, living in your truck. Before we do that, I actually want to go back a little bit and know what life was like before that. Like, what were some of your early aspirations? Who were you leading up to that point?
Drunk and an alcoholic and a party guy. I grew up a Jewish kid in an Italian-Irish neighborhood in Long Island.
Okay.
And
did you have any role models, Mark? Like, was there a grandfather that had a business, or was there your father figure?
No, my parents were pretty poor.
Okay.
And my dad ran a Burger and Shake and then a Burger King. That's how we got by. And
but so there's a little bit of entrepreneurial. He
was a manager, though. He was the manager of
okay.
the company. So he didn't even own anything until after I turned 18. When we moved to Connecticut, he bought a restaurant, and then he bought that restaurant and ran it into the ground. Mm-hmm. So I had no role models. I had other people in my family who were successful. We were the poor people in my family. Mm-hmm. And I had other people who had gone to college and were in business and were going into finance or starting business. I had a cousin who started a business and bought another business. And all of that was foreign to me. I had all my counters were at 0 at 27 years old. Mm-hmm. I got through high school. I got through a month of college, and then my alcohol, drug, bartending, partying, and ultimately, homelessness, trajectory ensued.
That was your demise was sounded like you were trying to just survive, state of survival, and then a state of trying to silence, the voices in your head or the way you felt, societal, issues, family issues. You just tried to mask it all with alcohol and stuff. And I think some people tuning in can maybe relate to that. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like that was what's going on until you got to this point where now you're homeless, you're living in your truck. So when you get to that moment, is there a day you said, I'm drunk, this is the line in the sand, I got to walk over and start building myself back up? Was there a wake up moment?
No, there was a I need to borrow money from my brother moment. My brother ran a bunch of restaurants here in Washington, D.C., and he was kind of the mayor of D.C., the unofficial mayor of D.C. So I came to Washington, D.C. to just borrow some money from him. And so I drove my truck to D.C. And this was before cell phones. This was before the internet. Right? We were, I didn't have any money. I was living on Diet Cokes and cookies from Unicall 76 stations, because that was the only credit card I had that had any money on it. And that's how I got myself to DC.
Wow.
And when I got here, my brother looked really, really different. I hadn't seen him. I hadn't talked to anybody in my family for 5 years, and I hadn't seen him in like 7 years. And what I found out was he was several years sober from cocaine and alcohol, because my kind of runs in my family. And when I got here, he said, "All right, look, what I want you to do is I want you to stay here. I want you to go to AA and NA meetings. You're going to enroll in college and go to the gym with me and run with my friends." I was like, I got no place to go. He's basically the mayor. I get to go eat in all these restaurants for free. I was 135 pounds. It was bad. Yeah. And I haven't taken a drink since the day I walked into his house. Excuse me. And, that doesn't usually happen.
How long ago was that, Mark? How many years, roughly?
1989, September 1st, 1989.
So 36 years ago? Yeah. Wow. Good for you, man. Hey, celebrate. We're going to celebrate with my ginger water here, which got no additives or sugar or anything, any bad stuff in it. So cheers to you.
It's funny. Awesome. My kids call me fancy, because like I have a coffee mug that keeps my coffee at 135 degrees. And I'm like, dude, you don't know fancy. Like you don't know what I come from to call me fancy. Right. And yes, I'm fancy and I'm fine. I've earned it.
But dude, that's an amazing thing that look at where you're at today compared to where you were 36 years ago. Look at what they're experiencing. You're providing a great life for them. They can obviously have a joke or jab like that they don't understand the hurt in your heart. And how old are your kids?
One is 25 and just got married last week. And the other one is 28 and got engaged last week.
Congratulations.
So life is changing fast.
Yeah, that's great. And you're very close to them, it seems.
Very, 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 very close. Except my son who got married, who called me twice a day, every day, hasn't called me since he got married. And I'm a little pissed. I'm a little lonely.
Well, you definitely, second fiddle there now that he's married, but that's a good thing. He's probably just totally engulfed in the new, learning.
Oh, he's totally. He was here at my house. He was actually here at my house and with his bride, because they live in New York, but they were here for the engagement party. And he just pulls me aside and he just looks at me and he goes, "I'm married." And I was like, "Yeah, and you're 25 and don't have a job, but that's okay because he's a rabbi." And
okay.
So both of my sons really became very traditional type people. I'm a little bit out there. I'm a little bit wild. I'm covered in tattoos. Both my sons are very religious. And one is a Hasidic rabbi and got married in a Hasidic way, where the men and women are separate and all that. So it was really kind of fun, and it's really interesting to watch. You think you know who your kids are going to be, and they're going to be who they're going to be, and you just got to go along with the ride.
Well, that's a beautiful thing as a father, that you're loving him, and it's a different from your experiences. And I think as a dad, I have a beautiful 10-year-old daughter. Good, bad, ugly. We can relate, and then we try to prevent the bad. We try to bring on the good, the things our parents did that we liked, and be loving and mirror some of those behaviors. But also at the same time, remember, you're you. Like, you're not your dad. You're like, even the good things he did, like, you're still uniquely you, and your kids are uniquely them, not yourself. So a lot of times, even though it's my daughter, I'll still show her some of the things like the Ninja Turtles or this or that, or Sonic the Hedgehog, and different things as she grew up. I'd show her like stuff I liked. And whether she liked it or not was okay with me, because she's not me. I mean, she has the Paw Patrol and all this other cool stuff that she loved, that I enjoy when she brings it to me and shows it to me. And it's like, this is awesome. You're you. we got my, stuff, and there's a lot in common that we like. And it's really cool to let them thrive in their own unique ways. And it sounds like you're a great dad doing that. So what would you say, your brother sounds like he was a pivotal figure and bringing you in and showing you the way to clean up your life.
My brother put me in the center of all his friends who were
great influence for you.
In NA and in AA, and I ran with them, and I went to the gym with them, and I started to create who I was. I started taking college classes, and it took me until my early 40s. I was 27. It took me until my early 40s to actually get a college degree. It took I was already married with one kid by the time I got my college degree. But what happened was I waited tables. And I got married, and when I married my now ex-wife, I told her, I said, I may never be anything more than a waiter, because I didn't know it. Like, I had no skills, I had nothing.
You were just trying to be upfront and honest there, yeah.
And she was educated and came from a good well-to-do family, and ironically, her father did well late in life too. They were poor, and then her father did well late in life, she said, she's all in. And then there came a time where I wanted something more for my family. Like, I wanted to see what I could do. And I was looking at sales jobs because I had no skills. Like, again, I didn't think I had any skills. I thought I was just a waiter and a bartender, and that's all I ever knew. And this stigma of having been homeless really stuck with me. Not having a college degree and being homeless really kind of shot my confidence.
Yeah.
But I took a job as a sales guy, and I quit my job as a waiter, and I took a job as a salesman where I had to make 50 phone calls a day. It was one of those, like mills.
Smile and dial.
And I am shy. I don't like to bother people. I'm introverted. I was extroverted. I was best bartender in New Haven, Connecticut when I was drinking and doing coke. And then I became introverted when I stopped doing all that. And it was in that horrible, like, for me, that was the most horrible environment I could ever be in, to call people, bother people, and try and get them to buy something. But the thing that I learned was I was selling computer training at that time, and we could give away a free class. To get someone to come in, we give away a free class, and they'd come in and get a class. And that's where I learned something. I was able to give away classes. I was able to call people and say, "Hey, I got this thing for you. Isn't this great?" I never made it to my 50 calls a day. I couldn't get to my 50 calls a day. And again, I learned later in life why I couldn't do a lot of things that I couldn't do.
What would you say, real quick, was the biggest reason you didn't get to them? Was it a mental disconnect?
I have severe ADHD.
Okay.
Which I didn't learn until we diagnosed my kid. I had no idea that I had it. And I also have no executive function going on in my brain.
Wow.
So the psychiatrist put electrodes on my brain, and it showed that executive function that's supposed to be lighting up in your, that says cause and effect and consequences and things like that. I don't have that.
It was like playing ping pong. Like, the little guy in there was like, "Hey,
he's like,
feet up on the couch, pizza on its, shirt."
Yeah. This should be a sophisticated, video game, and it's wrong. Right?
Well, hell, man. And that's even more of a cool reason that your story is special, because without that, you still got to where you're at today. And we'll get into where you're at today, which is exciting. But so you didn't get to your calls, but you realized that something about doing sales. And I tell, I've had this conversation on the show before, how good sales is as just a life lesson. It teaches you so much about yourself. It gets you so uncomfortable that you learn things about yourself you never would have if you weren't in sales. So I think it is a great thing that everybody should experience at some point.
It was funny because the job I went for before this was copier salesman. Your audience might not even remember copiers and copier salesman, but you had to. So I went on a ride along with one of their top salespeople, and when I came back, the sales manager said, "Not only do you not have the job, Silverman, you should not be a salesman. Like, find something else to do." So when I had this computer training thing, what I learned was that if I could get people to come in to take the free class, people trusted me. I have this gift that, and I only knew this in hindsight, like in going over my career and so many people asking me why I was so successful. People trust me. So I could get people to come in, and I went from being about to be fired to the number one sales guy in 3 months once I figured out that secret.
And would you say it's not like you're just because you're giving something away or offering something for free? To me, it doesn't sound like free was the equation. It sounds like you believed so much in what you wanted them to connect with or whatever that product or service was that you were offering it like you're asking a friend to go to a movie on a Friday night and it's your favorite movie. You saw it already and you want them to go with you. And
100%.
It's that no-brainer. We got to come and see this. It's the greatest thing I've ever experienced. But you're saying it in that positive way, right? And it's free. So then there's not that barrier for you to overcome. And so it just was magic, right? And so that was great. And so you were really good at it. So that started to build up the, hey, I can do this, and self-confidence started to grow. I can do this.
And then I was at a tech expo and I saw this product called a smart board, and it was a whiteboard that you could write on, and the writing would go onto the computer. Mm. And like, it sounds so stupid now, but like, and then you could project a projector on it and you could use your finger to play solitaire and move cards around and things like that. Mind blowing. Like, I'm like, I want to sell this. So I found the company who was doing it and I asked them if I talked them into giving me a job. Mm-hmm. And again, I was making $24,000 a year. That was the most I've ever made, to like $30,000 a year. I got the job with this company, and I wound up selling we sold Toshiba projectors with these things. And I wound up selling the largest sale in Toshiba's history in this.
At that point in time. Yeah.
Because I was so excited about it. And it was just the coolest thing. And I went from $30,000 to $125,000. The next year I went to $250,000.
Same product, same company.
Same company. And they made me VP of sales. They had no business making me VP of sales. I did not know how to help salespeople. I didn't even know what I did right.
Yeah.
But I kept, so I kept getting recognized for more talent than I thought I had. And then I got, recruited to another company, a bigger tech company. And all this, and there's a big thing here is all this time I was applying to these tech companies. They would always tell me, you don't have any experience. We can't hire you. You don't have any experience. Because, the big tech companies that now, back then were startups. And I wanted to go work there. And
they wanted you to have tech experience?
They wanted me to have
and all you had was boots on the ground sales experience.
And waiter. Yeah. And what I did was I made a resume that looked like a menu. Instead of a resume, I made it a menu, and I put all the things that were great about Mark and all the accomplishments and all the things people said about me in a menu form. And that got me interviews.
You were Canva before Canva existed, baby.
And I did it in Excel. Yeah. And once I meet people, I can talk my way in or out of anything. And I talked myself into these tech jobs. And then I went from $250,000 a year to like $500,000 a year. Driving a sports car. My wife and I buy $1 million house. It's insane. The whiplash of going from not being able to afford anything to, now I'm in one of the richest neighborhoods in the country.
Right.
So it was really kind of breathtaking.
Was your wife that you were with, that was your first wife?
Yes.
Who said, you came to her and said, I don't know if I'm ever going to be more than a waiter. Yes. And she still married you and she stuck with you?
Yes.
So she got to come along for the ride. Lesson, ladies, sometimes you got to believe in the man and hit the dreams in his heart. But you didn't really know the dreams in your heart. You figured it out later. But
I had no dreams.
I interviewed someone recently, Tim Rexius. I don't know if you know Tim Rexius Nutrition. He's got a ton of cool products and gyms and stuff. And he had a situation where, his first marriage didn't work out. It was during the early days of his success. And then, he turned into a highly successful and wealthy individual. And his second wife was a big part of it. She was a big part of the spark, but also she gets to enjoy that with him. And I'm not talking bad about his first wife. We didn't do that when I interviewed him. But the point is, there's some there's more to somebody than their current financial situation is all I wanted.
Yeah, you need someone to believe in you.
That's my soapbox for 10 seconds right there. But to get back to you, did you have, what was your imposter syndrome like in that moment?
It was crippling.
Yeah.
Because I was waiting tables at the Four Seasons. I did this at a keynote in Nashville just recently. I was waiting tables at the Four Seasons in Washington, D.C. A few years later, I'm at a club trip at the Four Seasons in Hawaii. So I'm a guest at the Four Seasons. Right. I'm at President's Club. I'm with the president and CEO of the company and the top salespeople in the company.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my wife at the time, I'm like, how am I here? Mm-hmm. Like, and I'm so nice to the waiters, and I'm so like, it was so weird. And then I would go into DC and I would go have lunch at the Four Seasons, and the people I used to work with would wait on me. So it was very surreal.
Yeah, and almost like an out of body experience, in being in the same spot when you were at the bottom level and being there at a higher level. That just feels weird. It's like going back to your high school, you were bullied and now you're like the successful person to go back and step on that ground. And it kind of feels weird, or whatever. So
it's very weird.
But there's people that are tuning in that maybe have a similar experience or they haven't really fully overcame it. What were some things that you did and since then that you feel helped you get over some of that? Have you gotten over that?
The most important thing, the absolute most important thing was doing things scared. I would go on my tech presentations, and if my engineer didn't show up to do the presentation and I had to do the presentation, I would stand in front of a group of people and sweat. Like sweat would pour off my face. I couldn't hide how scared I was every single day of my life. For years, I'd win club trips. I have these trophies, because I started racking it up after years, and I still scared every day going to work, still over my head. Again, it took me a while to get a college degree, but once I finally had the college degree, that was something. All these people that I work with all had gone to college like a normal person, had played lacrosse, like they're all the lacrosse guys, and like they all talk sports and they're all cool, and I'm awkward. I'm better when I have alcohol. And again, we go to Las Vegas and I'm not drinking. I go to my room and get a pint of Ben & Jerry's, right? So it was really hard. But two of my friends who helped me start out, the Beef Brothers, they were the two most scary, over-the-top salespeople you ever. They both drove twin Mercedes and brought prostitutes to the club trip. Just to have them on their arms. That's the kind of guys they were.
Yeah.
They took a liking to me. Okay. And years later, they told me the reason they took a liking to me was, one, I read all the white papers and I knew my stuff. I did the work to learn the product and what I needed to do.
Right.
And I was there when they showed up in the morning and I was there when they left in the evening. Reliability,
consistency.
And they said, you get it, right? And you bleed this place. And I bled that place because it was just my first time ever feeling like I had
belonged,
like I belonged, and I was successful, and I felt like I owed them because every day I felt like someone did me a favor for having me there, so it was huge. But then what happened was I wound up having a falling out with my boss. My boss accused me of stealing, and my ex-wife says that was when our marriage fell. She said, I changed the day that happened.
What do you think? What do you think changed there? Was it that you felt someone broke trust and didn't? What did you feel? I don't want to put the words in your mouth. What do you think happened there?
I felt
betrayed.
I felt both betrayed because this was my mentor. I felt both betrayed and found out. And not found out that I was stealing, just found out that I didn't belong.
So it almost started to reconfirm things that you were fixing the wiring on, and then this one moment could snap it all back to, oh my God, all that stuff wasn't real.
Because you asked what was the reason for my imposter syndrome, and the one thing was the ADHD and the just the neurological stuff. Sure. The other was childhood trauma, being molested as a kid. Like, I didn't know that stuff would come up years later. And that was the start of it.
Wow.
What happened after that was I left the company and got a new job so I was at the fastest growing tech company in Silicon Valley history. I got a job at the next fastest growing tech company in Silicon Valley history.
Was that something you did pretty quickly when that betrayal happened and the trust factor? You just said,
I got there immediately.
I'm out, man. I'm done. You just quit pretty quickly.
Well, the CEO and the president actually took me aside, and I felt really good because they had thousands of employees by then. And they said, just take a couple months, take 4 months off. You're burnt out. Just take 4 months off, and we'll pay your salary. We'll pay your
compensation, whatever. Yeah.
It was so cool that they did that. And anyway, you can never go back. So
they never apologized and figured out it wasn't you.
She never apologized. She said, I said to her, I actually said to her, I said, you know me. I said, maybe I'm disorganized. Maybe I'm like, but dishonest, like what? She goes, I think what I think. And I was like, what? And I tried to reconcile with her several times, and every single time it backfired in
got worse.
Like the vendetta. And my ex-wife has theories, but anyway, it was horrible. So anyway, so I got the next job, but I got into the next job, and here's where things went horribly wrong. My wife and I separated. I started having panic attacks every single day. Now I'm in my late 40s.
You didn't have kids yet?
Successful a while. I'm sorry? We had 2 kids.
You had kids at that point, right?
We had 2 kids. I was on top of the world. I was the committee chair for the Boy Scouts. I was the 3rd grade basketball coach. I was, I was all these things. And I'm having panic attacks every day. And I don't know what the hell's happening. And I can't sell and I can't do anything. And I'm getting sick every day. And what it turned out, I didn't know what it was, but I started to get suicidal. So I separated from my wife. I got an apartment, and now stone cold sober. Here I am, suicidal. I just want to die, and I don't know why. And I couldn't even put one foot in front of the other. I would go into meetings, and all of a sudden my face would blow up with hives. And everything inside was just exploding.
Right. Your hormones are off the charts. You probably weren't sleeping at all.
And I was. Do
you think I'm not a psychologist? I'm not a doctor. I mean, I'm very lowly. I don't even know if that's the right word to use. I am not qualified to make this statement, but just as a friend talking to you, as a friend talking to you, it's just a thought. Let's call it what it is. Sounds to me like so much of the good things that happened leading up to that moment became your identity, and now you felt like you lost your identity. That's just what I'm gathering here. You're in a moment, you lost that job, you were crushing it. So they took that away from you. That was a big identity hit. Now you're at a new place trying to build it all up again, but maybe you're thinking, I don't know who I am. Your wife, I don't know the story there. You could share if you want, but that's a huge part of your person, your identity, your wholeness is now not, it's less than. In the moment, it felt that way probably. So this is huge. And I also don't want to look past the fact that you had in your past, you said you were molested at one point. And when you had someone betray you as someone who you trusted heavily, that likely also was took you back to being betrayed by whoever that person was, whether they knew you or not. Was it an adult or somebody? So now all these things are respawning as basically sounds like you're thrown out of an airplane and trying to figure out how to build it, parachute. And so how did you get through that moment?
So thank you. That was such a good description of all the things that were going on, right? It was just, and it's the reason why I did a podcast called Mastering Midlife, because the drives and motivations that got me successful were also underpinned by pathologies, right? I worked so hard, so I didn't have to be that homeless guy, so nobody would see that, right? So all of that identity crumbled, and it just it came up to either kill myself or drink again, because that's what a lot of people do when that stuff comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And what I decided to do was I couldn't kill myself because I had kids, and I know that that's a legacy I couldn't leave.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy named Stu Middleman was on the radio while I was sitting outside a doctor's office trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And he said, humans are meant to run. We're bipedal and we're meant to run, and everybody can run ultra marathons. And again, this is before Zoom, before any time you can talk to people over the internet. I called him and I said, Stu, you don't know me. I need you to coach me over the phone. I need to run the Marine Corps Marathon. I can't run a mile. I have no muscle mass. I am sick as a dog, but I have to run the Marine Corps Marathon because I have to show my kids what you do when everything falls apart. You do something like that. And he says, well, you can do it in about a year and a half. You can do the next one.
To build up the endurance, right?
I said, no, I have to do this one because I don't think I'm going to be alive. Wow. And then I said, and then I decided I'm going to make $1 million that year. I said, I'm going to W-2 $1 million. And before I die, I'm going to give that money to my ex-wife.
Wow. And why was that the decision? I'm curious.
Because I didn't want them to struggle.
So for her and for your kids.
Right. I was absolutely convinced I was going to die.
Wow.
It was so bleak and so dark and so terrifying.
Do you mind sharing what your relationship or communication was at that point with your ex-wife? Was she still somewhat supportive of you being okay and healthy, or did she just not care?
No, she totally cared. She was depressed also. I just wrote it in my newsletter. She was depressed also, but we both made a pact that we were going to co-parent the kids. So, we had Friday night Sabbath dinners, and she invited me every Friday night to Sabbath dinner. I live walking distance from my kids. So I never lived more than walking distance from my kids. Okay. Well, even when I remarried, I never lived more than walking distance from my kids and my ex-wife.
That's great.
We're close friends. We've been close,
Good.
But
I'm also divorced, so I got some stuff that's relative that I can kind of connect and relate to some of your story there. So some of that's selfishly asking you how you're getting through it. And the other part of it is, again, whenever I do an interview, it's the audience, right? Well, how can people hear, relate, and learn from you and take things to help themselves? So you're going through that, and the guy says 18 months, maybe you can run this marathon. You said, I got to do it right now. And then what do you do?
I started training for the marathon.
Yeah.
I started running. And I got a new job with the new fastest growing company in Silicon Valley history, because I still had a reputation.
Yeah. And were you seeking them out, or were you more of a magnet to some of those opportunities, or both? What do you say?
It was one of those two Beef brothers.
Yeah.
They went to that new company because we all went to startup, and they said, Silverman, why don't you come here? And then they introduced me to this guy who would be my engineer, who was a former customer of mine, who was amazing and who was also sober. He was a drunk when he was my customer. He was sober now. So we were two sober guys doing this. And so that year, while I was training for the marathon, I started listening to every self-help book known to man. I started listening to every spiritual book. I started meditating and praying and journaling and doing everything I could to build a new Mark Silverman.
Yeah.
Sales started coming in. Me and this engineer crushed it. And I wound up making $860,000 that year.
That's incredible.
And what happened was, training for the marathon, I had 3 goals. And that's why my book is called Only Tens. I had 3 tens. I had, there's the only thing I'm focused on. I'm not focused on 6, 7, 8s or 9s. I'm only focused on 10s is what I focused on. And I focused on, the Marine Corps Marathon, making $1 million and giving $60,000 to charity. I wrote all those checks to charity. And what happened at the end of the year was I was healthier than I had ever been in my life. Panic attacks were gone. My career was on fire. My ex-wife and my kids were starting to stabilize. And I had a basis for creating a new life. Because I started learning new things about how to be. I started learning, I did trauma therapy, EMDR, to deal with that. And let all that stuff come up and come out. So that's why I can go on any podcast and always talk. Yes, I was molested as a kid. Yes, I have I'm as honest as the day is long if it helps someone, right? So
that therapy you feel was allowing you to talk about it from the other side, where
EMDR was able to get it out of my body.
Okay.
EMDR is we were talking earlier that this was this is 9/11.
Right. As we record this, it's 9/11. Yep.
All the workers and all the rescue people were traumatized, in the weeks after 9/11, and they did EMDR for them. It's rapid eye movement and sound, and it helps the trauma leave your cells, leave your body.
Wow, I've never actually heard of that. I know that it makes me naive or whatnot, but that's really interesting.
It's and I credit if again the panic attacks stop, and I was able to focus. Now I still was unhappy, but I was willing to stick around until my kids graduated high school, and but each year I redoubled down on this spirituality. I redoubled down on the self-help and the mindsets and all the things that people are trying to do. I just filled myself with good stuff. And then I went to another startup and then another startup, and my career was great. And at one of the startups, I started writing a newsletter of all this self-help stuff, like all the things I'm learning, and I started sending it out.
Yeah. And
after a few weeks, I got a call from the VP of engineering. He says, "You need to stop. You're annoying people." I'm like, how am I annoying people? I'm just telling them, this book is really good and you should, try this. And he's like, nobody cares, Mark.
Now there's a disconnect in beliefs and someone not understanding your value at that company.
Yeah, but it was fine. I stopped that. Okay. I at this point I had enough self-esteem. I knew what I was doing. I knew who I was. But then
that didn't cause a disruption in you working there or anything. I was thinking we were going down I decided to leave and bet on myself.
No, it was fine. Okay. At this point, I'm a whole person now.
Sure.
But I still hadn't really spent money on myself. Or, I kept my kids and my ex-wife. My ex-wife didn't work. I gave her $10,000 a month to keep her in the house. Yeah. All that stuff, right? If you want to know how to get along with your ex-wife, give her $10,000 on. And by the way, I paid the taxes on that. So we had that agreement also.
I'm just going to say no comment from my side on that one, but yes,
I would still do. I did shortchange myself, but I would still do it again today. Because I almost bankrupted myself, of course. But what happened was I decided I was going to go on a spiritual retreat for my 50th birthday. And when I signed up for this retreat in Hawaii, and the guy who's running the retreat is this famous author. And he calls me and he goes, "Mark, this is Alan Cohen." I'm like, "What the fuck? Why is Alan Cohen calling me? Why are you calling me?" He goes, "Mark, Spirit told me." And I'm like, "Whatever. Spirit told me you should go to my coaching program and not this retreat." I'm like, "What's coaching?" And he said, "Please proceed to tell me what coaching is." I said, "Dude, I'm a family man and a sales guy. I'm not a coach." He goes, "I promise you, this will help you be a better salesman, better family guy, everything," right? And he says, "If you don't like it, I'll give you all your money back and you can go to any one of my other programs at any time." And I went to the first 3 coaching classes. I told my ex-wife about it. And my ex-wife is the one who said, "I've been telling you for years," and I still remember this, I've been telling you for years that you need to teach companies what you do. They need to learn from you who you are, how you show up, and we thought it was HR. We knew we couldn't afford for you to go work in HR or something like that. But this coaching thing is it. You need to be a coach. And I'm like, "But you depend on me for $10,000 a month. My parents depend on me to live in their condo, right?
Yeah.
Everybody depends on me." But it turned out to be the thing. That was your "I'm on purpose" moment of this. This is my space on this planet where I belong, and now I'm going to continue to figure out how to make it a reality. So you're about 50 when this happened. I was 50 when it happened. Yeah, and I had just gotten the most coveted tech sales job in the industry. I had just gotten it at this one company. And I said to them, I said, I think I'm going to quit and become a coach. And they're like, what's a coach?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
For your son's like high school football team? What are you talking about? You know? Yeah.
And they said, well, how about this? We don't have your replacement. So why don't you work here for the next couple months, do your coaching thing, but work here part-time. And I was like,
transition out. Yeah. Sounds good.
And again, that says a lot. Integrity is so important because every time you leave a tech job, they walk you out the door. Like
immediately.
The second you say you're gone, they walk you out the door.
And you have to probably sign a non-disclosure and the whole thing.
And I've never been walked out the door. I thought I would get a 2-week vacation. Every time I switch jobs, I'm like, I'm going to a competitor. We trust you. I'm like, really? Except for that one woman who thought I was stealing from the company. But so that's when I hung out my shingles. And my first 6 clients were former customers, CIOs, CEO,
that's great.
Work with.
Yeah.
And they said, I don't know what this coaching is, but you would always talk to us about our lives and our careers. And you always were interested in us furthering our ventures.
So it became executive coaching, like right out of the gate?
And no, it wasn't executive coaching right out of the gate. I kind of rejected that and went more spiritual, more. I was afraid to go back into my old world, really, to mine, because I was afraid people were going to make fun of me, and again, those brothers totally made fun of me. Until I told them how much money I make now. I make more than I made when I was a sales guy as a coach. But it took a few years and it got really scary. But I was more life coachy, more trying to figure things out. And then
who were your what was your prospect? Like, who were you looking?
My prospects were entrepreneurs. It was a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of midlife kind of thing, like guys in midlife crisis and stuff like that. What do I do? Trying to figure out how to, how to figure. And my fees weren't very high. Life coaching doesn't really.
But you've been there, you walked the walk. And so a lot of the things that other people were going through, what better way to learn from someone who's been there, right? So, the old analogy, and I've used this a bunch of times, it's like, you hit your head against the wall a number of times, and then you realized over here, there's a door with a door handle on it. You could turn it and walk through. And hey, once you learn how to do that, and then you turn around, the next guy's knocking his head, you take his hand, you go, let's go through here. Let's do it this way. You don't have to have the bumps and bruises that I got figuring out how this thing works, right? So
that was my driving force for a long time. I didn't want people to go through what I went through.
Mm-hmm. And so that obviously, it was passion with experience. You knew how to sell, so I'm sure you were really good at closing. But you were doing it from the same way of go back, rewind the tape to when you said you were offering these free courses, and that's when you realized that you were really good at it. So now you're doing that same kind of thing. There's a dollar amount attached to it, but your belief in what you offered and the value that you gave to those entrepreneurs and people you were coaching, man, it was far outweighing whatever they paid you. So
it's funny because I gave a free coaching course. The way I got my clients,
you kind of learned it.
Hey, you want a free course? Come in and spend an hour and a half with me. See what we got here. Yeah. And then they would sign up. But it was later when someone said, Mark, you come from glass buildings. Like she was driving around here where I live. She says, there's so many glass buildings here. You come from glass buildings. There's so many executives who need what you have.
Yeah.
And that's when the shift to executive coaching turned up. And I found out that my real gift is helping young executives grow into their positions. So that's the tagline of the Rising Leader Handbook is turning high achievers into effective leaders. Is, what got you here isn't going to get you there. How do we grow you up? How do we mature you? How do we give you leadership skills so that you can have success through others versus what you did before?
Something that's been on my mind throughout this conversation, and it's something I know you talk about in one of your books, or may have been in the workbook that you have, the idea of, a top performer, right? Whether it's sports, it could be anything. It could be business, of course, and your background is more business. Do you believe that top performers translate to top trainers or leaders? Can they be turned into it, or is there a natural gift, do you believe, Like,
I don't think they have a natural gift for it, actually.
okay.
I think that I think anybody can turn into it. What I find the biggest hurdle for high achievers turning into leaders.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing for entrepreneurs when they're a one-man band, when they have 3 people working for them, and then they're all of a sudden, now they have to be CEO instead of all those other things. It's the same hurdle.
It's a struggle. I experienced that myself.
Is I didn't know leadership was so people intensive. I didn't know I had to spend so much time with people, with communication skills. So the biggest hurdle is the letting go of what you did, letting go of is it shouldn't be this way because people should be smarter and they're not. People should be more motivated and they're not. People should understand instructions and they don't. And it's no fault of their own. It's just humanity because you're the same for the people above you. You have to learn communication skills. You have to learn how to create strong agreements with with milestones and just understand, communication skills. You also have to take your ego out of it. If your ego is in your leadership style, you're going to crash and burn and it's going to be miserable. Those leaders who can step aside and let their team shine and really, really dedicate themselves to that. And then again, the other piece is, how do you lead up? How do you put your ego aside to make sure you are, that second in command for your boss, in a way that is helpful to them, right? So looking out for yourself as a leader is usually the pothole that people fall in.
Very good feedback on that. And then, so would you say if someone like a leader in an organization, someone who's they have a team of, doesn't matter if it's 1 or thousands of sales reps, and they have a high performer like you doing $800,000 a year or more, and you're just crushing it, right? You blew your goal out of the water. Should they be looking for that person to continue to be the top sales guy, or should they be saying, how can I turn this person into a VP of sales so we can have Mark turn all these other average to above average guys into more Marks? Not that they want to clone you, because everyone should be their unique self out on the sales floor or phone. But what position do you think they should take?
In sales, they're often reluctant to take the highest performers and put them into management.
This is a real thing that happens. I've been in Fortune 100 and 500 companies with sales, and a lot of times they leave the guy alone because he's just a wild, or girl. They're just wild in their own way, and they get the results, and they're at President's Club every single year. But that person doesn't always work out as a mentor, or they try to have you mentor and lead like a young buck that comes in, and it's like they don't even know how to explain why they're good. Like you said, you had that little bit of that issue up front. Like you were so good at it, but you couldn't even tell people what you were good at. You just were good at it. So what's your theory on if someone's in that situation running an organization?
You watch the people on your team. You look who naturally mentors. You look who naturally is able to explain what they do. You're and is interested in what other people do. You look for people who draw out other people's strengths, who collaborate really well. You watch their language, right? Is it creative language or is it limited language? They complaining because your top salesperson could be your top complainer, and you tolerate it because they're just rainmakers. But you don't want that person to be leading your team. They're poison. It's poison in that way. So what you want is the people who have that way about them.
You're looking for those key identifiers, like this person can be a great coach, right? Again, it's just like I'm a big sports guy, if you can tell, big Bills fan, Yankees fan, and not every Yankee great is a great manager. Or not every great football player who has, the most yards as a wide receiver or whatever it might be, most touchdown catches for their organization doesn't translate into a great coach. There's people who are great coaches who could barely play the game. When I think of Bill Belichick, I know he just had that crazy game where he got beat really bad in college, but obviously he's known for handling his own as a coach and doing well and his success in the NFL. But I can't picture him tackling someone on a football field, right? Even if he was 25 years old with gear on, I just don't have that envision. So great coaches don't always play the game as well, but if they understand it at a high level and know what the successful recipe looks like, they would be a great coach. but you got to find those identifiers in people.
Sure.
I know. Go ahead.
Anybody can learn.
Mm-hmm.
They just have to want to. They have to make the decision that they want to lead rather than do.
And I would say that having that experience, being the one who has done it, I personally, my thought on it in the moment is that gives you an edge because you've done it. And I'll tell you, anytime I've had someone teach me something, I've had regional managers in the past. I'd worked in corporate and stuff where they're trying to pitch something, an idea, sell a product, tell us we need our KPIs up. And then I know this person just came from like another big box retailer, come to us. They never were on the floor. They never sold one of these things. And they're trying to train us on how to do it better, but they've never done it. And it makes it really hard for the sales team to believe in it, to do it well. So I do feel that a coach who gets it, they've done it, they got the experience and the battle scars. Now they're sharing what works for them, what doesn't work, and can do it from a respectable coach, mentor, all the great things you said that makes a great leader. They're doing those as well as has the experience. I'd say that person's going to be a stronger leader than someone who's like, I used to do this at this other company. It's a different product. It's a different service, but I think this is going to work. And it doesn't have the same buy-in. So exactly. if you're listening to this and not watching this, he's shaking his head. Yes, Mark agrees.
I'm saying yes. When it comes to, you have to impart that wisdom. Yeah. And I've seen leaders really, people who have studied leadership, who live and eat and breathe leadership, go from industry to industry and bring those leadership skills, right? And then they have the subject matter experts on the floor. Yeah. Right. They have those people who can help understand. And also a good leader will come in and spend a lot of time listening and not saying a word.
Yes.
Until they get it.
That's great. I want to end this and turn the page on another part of the conversation, but I love that. So that same person I talked about that would be a little bit behind without all that experience can actually, over years of time or whatever it might look like, be the better leader of the two because they were curious. They were a listener. They were on the ground floor. They figured it out. They learned. And maybe they even tried to sell or be, hey, can I stop into your store or office or location and see what's going on? And so now they can compete with that guy who's been on the field, and they didn't have to be on the field. So I agree with you. That's a really, really cool conversation. That's why I love doing the show, by the way, is talking to people from all different walks, all different backgrounds, different styles of leadership, different experience. And we pull these organic conversations from you, like without you living that, your perspective is so strong on it. So here's what I'd like to do. I know we're way over on time and everything, so I want to be respectful to your time. If someone's listening to you right now, and this is a great conversation, by the way, and I thank you for being on, they want to walk away with 2 or 3 things that allowed you, Mark, to be highly successful, go from where you're at, from being in that truck to driving to your brother's place, to listening and following the way of people who were, mentoring you, to continuing to, there's a lot of the stepping stone in your story, going from one sales organization, tech company, a little bit of a take a step back, 2 steps forward. You went through divorce. What are like 2 or 3 things you love someone to take away from you and say, man, if you do these things and apply it to yourself, you can really change your life?
Number one is, and it's so cliche, but it like, how do you get it into people? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you're scared. Like, do the things you're scared of. Do the things you're unqualified for. Like, don't wait until that you'll figure, fit for it, figure it the F out, while you're trying to figure. Go for it. There's not a lot of time to waste. You're going to regret every chance you didn't take. Everything that I didn't do is because I was scared. I'm just so pissed off at myself. Everything that I did that I was scared of paid off. Like, it was just so cool that I did it. Right? Yeah. Having children. I was terrified of having children. I felt I had no business having children. Now I have a rabbi and another. And
imagine if you waited until it was the right time. When is the right time? When the hell is the right time? I don't think there's a situation I can think of off the top of my head where time was added to the equation and made it better. A relationship, we need some time to separate. And like, you're just creating the biggest wedge, man. All the stuff that can come into there and deteriorate what once was is going to be so great. You just opened up the storm, right? So the people who said, take 6 months and maybe try to figure out your other career, like if they really did want you long-term and to stay, you know, they wouldn't have given you as much ground or whatever. You get the idea. But time doesn't, to me, you know, help an equation. You got to get going. I love that. Like, start now, be scared, figure it out. That's great advice.
The second thing is the most, and again, do the inner work. What are your triggers? What turns you into a useless puddle? What energizes you? Find out what makes you tick. Because with my leaders, I'm usually hired because somebody has landmines. Either they have a temper, or something goes wrong and they crumble, or they can't. There's a reason. There's some pothole that they can't get through. Mm-hmm. So the first thing we do is we learn our potholes. Why do we crumble? Why do we get triggered and lash out? Why do we get derailed? And when you start to learn why you get derailed, you can start to be okay in situations where you weren't okay before. And then when you can be okay in situations where you used to not be okay, when you can be the adult in the room when everybody else is turning into children, mm-hmm. you now have the power. I think the biggest thing I teach my clients is every boardroom is a bunch of 6-year-olds. We're all bringing our childhood crap to every conversation we ever had. If you can grow yourself up, look to see where are people scared, what information do they need. If you can, if you can understand what every single person in the room needs, and you grow yourself up and be able to give them that, you have the power in the room. So doing your own work, when you can be emotionally and intellectually mature in any given situation, the sky's the limit for you, because most people can't do that.
Yeah, I want to reflect on that real quick before you get to the third point, is that everything in your story, there's a lot of incredible things that had happened. Like, you got sober through influence from other people. You were reading and listening to self-help books at one point. You had a divorce that was a driving force in your inspiration in different ways. You had I forget who mentioned the idea of doing that race where you said, I'm going to just get started no matter what.
It was me.
It was you.
I heard it on the radio.
You heard, okay. So the radio, all right. All these seeds were planted, but I want to remind everybody is Mark did the thing, right? So yeah, there were opportunities that sparked and allowed him. Doors were opening in different companies, organizations, people, those two brothers you talked about that, gave you an opportunity. But you did the thing. You showed up early. You stayed late. You were willing to put in the work. Even when you didn't know and you were crumbling and sweating, you still did it. You did the thing. And you heard the ad on the radio, but 99 out of 100 people might hear that same ad, not do what you did. So I want to make sure, I know you're not looking for the pat on the back. That's not why you're on the show today. But I just want to say, as a friend here, giving you a huge virtual hug, you did the thing. And that's what gets me amped up over here. I'm like, damn, I got to what am I going to take action on the second I get off of this interview? Because look at what Mark's done. And that's what got me really excited about your story is, yeah, these X factors happen, but they happen to everybody. What do you do with it when it happens? And so your story is, there's a lot of it. Resilience, it took a lot of self-belief, rewiring. And then you even mentioned the thing with your, part of your brain not fully functioning the way that it naturally should. None of that stopped you from being able to, and when I say be successful, that can mean so many different things to different people. But for you, successful was got a loving relationship with your boys. You're putting food on the table. You're able to provide for your ex-wife, your parents. And I can tell you're happy. Like, you didn't say I'm a happy person today, but I can tell that there's happiness in your heart compared to where you were at some of those lower moments. So I just wanted to make sure I got that out, because all this is great. But folks, if you don't actually do the work that Mark did, it's not going to turn around for you. All right. Number three.
You need a posse. You need friends. You need people you can trust, you can count on, that if you did screw everything up and you're going to live under a bridge, they'd take you in. You need to have people you can complain to, who will let you complain and then set you back on your feet and tell you to stop complaining. You need people who you just need to invest. And especially if you have little kids, a lot of that stuff is really hard, but building those friendships, building a group of people who are in your corner is essential. And you may look around and say, I don't have those people. Mm-hmm. That's when you start making phone calls and you look for who could use help, who has a birthday, who, like Facebook tells you who's a birthday. I send videos every day to people who have birthdays on Facebook every single day, 3 or 4 videos. And people say every year, they're like, I wait for this video and I haven't seen them in 20 years. I make sure I'm investing in as many people as possible, sending out the love, because every once in a while I need the love back. Mm-hmm. And if I haven't been feeding it, it's not there for me. It's my responsibility to create that posse of people and to feed it and water it and nurture it. And I will tell you that if I falter, I will not fall, because I have created, just unshakable support for myself.
I agree. No one man by themselves alone can really get to a high level of greatness. You look at it, again, we talk about sports, we talk about business, but every great athlete has a coach, not only the head coach, but a trainer, a personal trainer, a mindset coach. People who do really well, like, there's a stat they just showed in the NFL where players who get married in that same year, they have their career best year, because now there's this new spark and energy inside of them, because it's the extra team member as part of their posse. People who are executives that do masterminds perform at a higher level that people who try to fly solo and figure it out for themselves. Right. So I think that's huge. Community, absolutely huge. Look at what that means for you. I just started playing pickleball, and I love the fact that I just get to go and hang out, make new friends, and have a little friendly competition every Sunday night. But I look forward to that community, because I'm an entrepreneur who works from home. I do this from my home, and I have a team that's remote all across the country and even now across the globe. And it's exciting that we can operate that way, but it's important to be on those mastermind calls as well, and have our team meetings and be a group, right? And to have that posse. That's so important.
100%.
All right. Before you run, I got one last thing to do. We're talking about paying the bills. I'm going to pay the bills here by giving some credit to our company, socialchameleon.us. That is our main sponsor. You press record, we handle the rest. It's podcasting done for you. Guys, check it out, socialchameleon.us. And we do specialize in working with brands and entrepreneurs and keynote speakers. And that's really our audience there. We're also recording this on riverside.fm. That's how you get high quality audio, video, and you get multiple tracks so you can actually produce it at a high level. And that's an affiliate of ours. I've been doing the show now through Riverside for over a year. Absolutely love the transition it's made for our content. And we also get this out to Apple, Spotify, all the big players for your podcast. The way you're listening to this right now is because we get it up there through Libsyn.com. It's LIBSYN.com. They've been around forever and they take great care of us. Their customer service is fantastic. All right, Mark, I'm going to let you run with all of that. We talked about this off camera at the beginning of the show. There's a lot going on in the world right now that's heavy on our hearts. It's September 11th. Yesterday, Charlie Kirk was murdered. A lot of uproar, a lot of hate being spewed on social media. I like to use this as a platform. I end every episode with be great and be grateful. And I just want you to know I'm grateful for you being on the show. And a reminder to our audience to be kind to one another. And I just want to give you the floor if there's anything you want to say, because this is topical. It's top of mind. Anything you want to deliver from that side of it, from your heart.
Sure. What hurts my heart the most, is that we have this illusion that it's us versus them. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter who us is and it doesn't matter who them are. And we forget that it's just us trying to figure it out. And that there are people who profit from us not knowing that. And if we could figure it out,
get back to humanity, right?
Right. Like you and I just had an hour conversation, And I don't think anybody would know our political affiliation, our thoughts on any of that stuff from, for either one of us from our conversation. And we had so much shared humanity in this conversation. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think we need to focus on, not some of the other really superfluous stuff.
Amen, man. I believe that as well. And what we can learn from people that were different then, and different in many ways. What does that even mean? Well, let's get curious and let's just see how we can share love and curiosity and be kind to one another no matter what. And I said this to you early before we started recording. That's what we can control. Being kind, loving one another. And if someone's different than you, understand why and how. And right, we don't have to hate somebody or especially do a violent act against that party. And like you said, a lot of it's being given to us subliminally or sometimes directly. And so let's do our best to remain humane as humans in humanity. And again, I'm going to do a whole solo episode about that. And I appreciate you sharing your heart with that. Thank you so much, man. I loved having you on the show.
Love being here.